Welcome to another episode of the Para Cave podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Para Cave.
And today on the podcast, I've got a very special guest. Well, they're all very special guests to me because I love talking to former players especially. And this one is a face-to-face interview. It is done live in the Para Cave. A former NRL player, Super League player, also a Samoan representative as well. And also these days very passionate about mindset, mental health and resilience. And also the founder of the Talk Your Walk Foundation, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well. Welcome to the Para Cave podcast, Jesse Sene-Lefao.
Hey man, thanks for having me. What an intro.
Yeah, not a problem.
Appreciate that. But yeah, very grateful to be on here today. And hopefully add some value to all your listeners. Especially the Para Cave podcast.
No worries. Thank you very much for actually making the effort and coming here. As I said, I love doing the face-to-face interviews. It's a lot better than the Zoom videos, that's for sure.
Yep.
Now, going back, whereabouts did you grow up and what was life like growing up as a kid?
Yep, so I'm New Zealand born with a strong Samoan heritage. And we moved over to Australia when I was 9 years old.
Okay.
So we were born in Porirua, Wellington. Come to Australia when I was 9 and we went straight to Brisbane.
Okay.
Lived with family that we've never met before, just me, my mum and my sister. My dad was separated at the time, not, separated in that way, but he was in Samoa. He had to get a few qualifications, they say, to get over. Yeah. But yeah, our journey started up there. And then things weren't working too well, so we caught a train from Brisbane all the way to Emu Plains, and we got off at Emu Plains. It was about a 36-hour train ride.
Yeah, wow.
I remember holding black rubbish bags with all our gear, me, mum and my sister, and we got off at the train station. My cousins, my family from Emu Plains picked us up, and there was about 10 of us in a 2-bedroom house there. And then mum and dad finally got themselves together and on their feet. And then we got our first house we rented a flat right next to Penrith PCYC.
Okay, yeah.
And I was probably the only islander in Penrith at that time. Yeah. But yeah, grew up around Kingswood area, went to Kingswood High.
I went to Kingswood High as well.
Yeah, man, a Kingswood boy.
1990, I think, to 95, I was there.
Okay. I can't remember when I left, to be honest. I think it was 07 maybe. Yeah. But yeah, I wish I finished there, actually. I took a scholarship to go to Patrician Brothers Blacktown.
Yep.
And I'd done 1 year over there, year 12, and it was all around that Arrive Alive Cup back in the day.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I wanted to be a part of that. And I left my high school, Kingswood, but man, once a Kingswood boy, always a Kingswood boy.
Yes, small world. Every now and again I do drive past and I see all the changes from the outside. And small world. Is that through school, is that how rugby league came into your life?
Yeah, well, rugby league came into my life back in New Zealand. I had two uncles who played. One played for the North Queensland Cowboys.
Okay.
And then one played in France.
Oh, yeah.
And then they both end up overseas and playing. But I remember as a kid them flying in and out of the country of New Zealand, and I was like, man, I want to go on a plane. I want to go travel the world. They used to talk about being in France and being in England, Paris, and I was like, wow, that would be cool one day.
Yeah.
So I think when I knew where rugby could take you, just started kind of wanting to bit curious about, what's going on. And I guess being older now, when you're curious about certain things, it makes you work hard and you don't even know it.
Okay, yeah.
And it kind of sets you up good for, whatever you're trying to achieve.
Did you then follow the Cowboys at that time, or did you follow another team, or just players?
Yeah, well, our background, we're rugby union, my granddad. Okay. And obviously they'll play in rugby league. I didn't really know rugby league kind of existed, man. John Olomu was my all-time favourite. I wanted to be like him. He played at the Wellington Hurricanes. And, you know, he played for the All Blacks. The All Blacks was the biggest thing for me. Yeah, that was the biggest thing. So John Olomu was always one of my favourite players. I try to run like him, hold the ball in my left hand like him, palm like him, like playing the left side like him, you know. But obviously coming to Australia, we stopped watching Union and, you know, got introduced to this. Like I said, I lived near PCYC and you could see the Penrith ground from my flats, you know, and you could hear that.
Yeah, I think I can hear it from here sometimes too.
And back in the day, we didn't have tickets, so we found out that at half time you can go in for free. So we used to just wait for half time, and me and my dad used to walk down and go through and watch the games, and that was where I really watched my first rugby league game.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, this is a different sport. But I was playing league the whole time, but it just, you know. Yeah. All Blacks was the thing.
Yeah.
Coming there, and then that just led to me playing for, you know, Penrith Waratahs.
Same club as I played for as well.
My mum and dad took me to play soccer, but they said that I was a bit big and I'm in the wrong sport, so they said to go play, you know, for Penrith Waratahs, and I did. And, you know, playing there, I really wanted to make reps, but we were Division 4.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess, you know, I had to make a change to a Division 1 team, and that took me to Brothers.
Okay, yeah.
Penrith Brothers. So, yeah, if it wasn't for me to go to Division 1, you know, I started making some junior rep teams from there. And, yeah, I guess the journey, you know, speaks on itself where I've been, being a professional athlete for 13 years. So grateful for the beginnings.
That's it. Is that where Manly spotted you through Brothers?
No, they spotted me through the Windsor Wolves back then. Okay. So after Penrith 20s, there used to be a Toyota Cup.
Yep.
I didn't get a full-time contract.
Okay.
So I was left in lingo, you know, what should I do? I've put all my heart and soul into hopefully becoming an NRL player and getting a full-time gig. But, you know, my plan didn't really work at that time. And it kind of got more interesting is because I had a baby at 18.
Okay.
So coming out of under 20s, no job, no peas, having a baby at 18, mate, my head was gone. You know, I didn't know how to communicate, didn't know how to speak, didn't know how to reach out for help. The people I was asking for help were 18-year-olds that had no kids. So there was a lot of like, you know, disbelief, trying to understand why I feel this way, why I feel shameful, you know, why I feel like everyone's talking about me, and also the pressure, of helping mum and dad as, you know, Samoan culture. We're meant to give back to our families a lot, and being the oldest of my family, you know, I had some responsibilities at a young age, and I felt like I didn't fulfill them because of the actions and the choices I made. So that was a big type of breakthrough I had to go through, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Seen some dark days, and I've learned a lot from that, and that's what brings me into the space today that I'm in, you know, around the mental side, mental health side, resilience, and still able to have a career after it. Set a good foundation of what resilience is,
Who were those people around you at those time that you needed back in that day to try and get you through that?
So I ended up having to go through a journey between myself and the mirror.
Okay.
And I always talk about this, like, there was 3 main things that I remember. And the first thing was the fear of failure. I was so fearful to chase something and not come out with the goods, and worried about what people would say if I chased it so hard and I miss, that people would talk smack about me.
Okay.
And I had to get into that, you know, what is failure, you know, what is the fear of failure? Why do I feel this way? Why am I scared to go for something that I'm really passionate about? And when you look within, you know, like, I had to research the word failure, you know.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't like saying the word now. I like to kind of stay away from that word. But at the end of the day, what I found out for myself is that word only exists if you make it exist.
Right. You
don't ever fail if you get up the next day and go again. the moment you fail is when you don't try again.
Nice. Yeah.
So that opened a lot of doors for me, my mindset, my vision. You know, it's like I seen the world in a different place. And I had to build that, you know, I had to understand that, go deep within myself, you know, to really, really, you know, connect with it and believe it. And then the second one was clarity. So, everything's happened to me. You know, I can sook about it, complain, blame the world. There was no clear vision of where I wanted to go, who I wanted to be. So having the baby, take that in consideration. Having no contract, took that on board. Everyone talking smack about me, all good. Then I set up things in my life where, well, I do want to play NRL. I do want to support mum and dad. I do want to support my new baby and my girlfriend at the time, which is my wife. Now, I do. Those are the things. So I made a clear picture to myself of everything that I'd done from waking up to going to sleep. It would tick those three things. And I had a clarity goal of making NRL. I had a clarity goal of providing for mum and dad. And I had a clarity goal of providing for my new wife and my baby. So once I had that, I knew I had to get a job.
Yep.
Then chase the dream in the afternoon, which is rugby league, and play Bundy Cup at the time.
Okay.
And then another job to help my wife. So help mum and dad, help myself, help my wife. Once I had that clarity, the hours on end didn't matter. If I had to work 80-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks it was. And play rugby on the weekend, that's what I did.
Yeah, wow.
So I filled mum and dad, I filled my wife, and then I filled my own cup because I was chasing that dream of playing in the NRL. In that, you know, it took 5 years of double jobs, double shifts, and playing on the weekend. So I used to work 7 a.m. to 3 p.m, clock off, go to training, Bundy Cup finish, clock off, straight back to security, start at 8 p.m. to 3 in the morning.
Yeah, wow.
So I have 3 different uniforms a day, and instead of going home, I used to just drive straight to work and sleep in the car, and then get out and do my morning shift. So that was the clarity part. Had a vision, I knew what I wanted, let's just go for it. If I failed, I didn't care. I knew if I come up the next day and win again, I knew I was going the right way, you know. And the last one was belief.
Okay, yeah.
The last one was belief. I had to believe in myself before I took action. A lot of us do a lot of things and we don't really believe, you know, have trust in the process. Believe that what you're doing now won't show next week, won't show 6 months, but will show in about 3 to 4 years. A lot of people can't do that. So I had to grow up real quick, you know, having definitely. A baby. And that's kind of the 3 things that helped me, man. It's the fear of failure, the clarity, and then the belief.
I think after yesterday's result, I think Para fans need to believe in Jason Riles, and it's going to take time. That's for sure. It's not going to happen overnight. But look, you did achieve your goal of playing in NRL. Your debut was against Brisbane up at Suncorp. Yeah. How did you find out that you were going to make your NRL debut, and what's the one thing you remember about your debut game?
Oh, the week that I found out, I just remember going into video and I think we were playing a Friday night game. So we were going to travel.
Well, it was Brisbane, so yeah.
So we were travelling up on I think it was Wednesday training. Yep. Wednesday training, we'll come in and they were going to name the team for first round. And obviously, like, I just got to Manly. I've come from New South Wales Cup, Windsor, and Manly signed me on, you know, to be a centre.
Okay.
They signed a centre wing. I don't know why, but I can play that. All good. And so when I looked at the bench, I looked at the starting team, I could see, you know, Brett Kite, yep, sweet, he's there. BJ Lawrence, yep. And I was like, damn. You know, the centres, Jamie Lyon, Steve Maddar, won't probably be there. And then I was like, oh. And then the last the trial before, the last 10 minutes, I got put to front row. Okay. So I played centre, then I played back row majority of the time, and then last he goes, oh, jump in the middle. I was like, oh, sweet. anyways, the team gets announced, and I'm number 17. I was like, what? But before that, as we're walking into the room, I remember Cherry Evans just smiling at me, smiling. This
so he
big.
knew.
So he was smiling at me. I was like, what are you laughing at?
Yeah, what's going on?
And then I remember Steve Maddai just shaking my hand a lot longer than normal, and then just the meeting went, and then just couldn't. They said, "Oh, yep, Jess, you're on 17." I was like, "Wow!" Everyone gave you a clap and that. Yeah, they don't make you do the big speech like normal. But yeah, that was it. And then Fatty gave me my my debut.
Oh, nice.
My debut jersey.
Manly legend.
Yep. And he was pretty cool, man. I ended up that year being a part of the footy show and doing work with them. Learned a lot, man. Learned a lot. But yeah, that was the week. And then we got to Brisbane. My family, everyone's trying to get every $1.20 asking for loans so they can come up to Brisbane to watch me play. And mum and dad got there, luckily, and so did my 2 kids and my wife at the time. So it was good. But then the story kind of changes because it was like half time. I still haven't gone on. 20 into the second half, still haven't got on. 10 minutes, I'm like, wow. But I end up getting on, and that's why it's a happiest / saddest time.
Okay.
Because I got 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, wow.
That last 3 minutes, 40 seconds. And man, just to get 3 minutes and 40 seconds after a 5-year grind, you think it'll be enough and you're satisfied, but it's actually made me worse. I wanted more.
Yeah. Definitely.
And yes, happy as, but then mixed emotions.
Yeah.
But what brought me back to earth is we stayed there Friday night. We come back Saturday night. I was back on my shift at security.
Yeah.
Doing So I was full time playing and doing work on the weekend, because that's all I ever knew.
Yeah.
So I missed out a lot of drink ups with the boys and that, because after we play at Brookvale, I'll be on the first car straight away, my security uniform, ready to go and straight back to work. But yeah, that was the debut, man. It was such an awesome experience, but at the same time, I didn't play again that year. That was round 1 in Suncorp against Brisbane. We won. And then I was in the team 4 times that year, but they only used 16 players. So I actually got on for three minutes, but then all the other times through that year, they didn't get on for 4 times. So the next year's when I played every game.
How was the relationship with Jeff Tooby then, not getting on in those games?
I think because I was a bit more resilient, I didn't blame him.
Okay, yeah.
I just blamed myself, I looked at my own game at that time and I was like, well, Tom Simon's come late, so he kind of took my spot.
Okay.
He come really late and he played really well, to be fair. But yeah, and Craig Gower was still there. He's at Parramatta now. Is it Craig? David Gower. David Gower,
yeah. Yep.
So I played with him there, and it's awesome to see what he's doing now for Para. Wow. But yeah, it is what it is, man. And for a young kid, you got to understand that sometimes you got to earn your stripes. And yeah, definitely had to.
And then that would have probably transpired into, as you mentioned, you played every game the year after. But funnily enough, I think I did the research correctly. All your games in the NRL were off the bench.
Yeah.
Now, is that just happy to play NRL, or did you want to start games as well?
Oh, 100% I wanted to start.
I mean, everyone wants to start games.
Man. There was a few times.
Was that frustrating not starting?
Look, at the time, yes. It's not something I was confident enough to tell the coaching staff and, the coaches around, And that's probably one of the lessons I always try and tell our young kids coming through, especially being Pacifica, is that we got a culture where when someone higher than you speaks, we listen.
Okay.
And we don't answer back. And for me to break that took me a long time. Took me until I was probably 31. Yep. Yeah. To actually say something and speak what I feel. And it took a lot of guts at the time. And that was probably why I didn't debut, younger, because I couldn't even ask my under-20s coach, what can I do better or how.
Yeah.
how
Because
can
of
I
that
be
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like till this day now, like, man, just speak, you know. And that's why Talk Your Walk so close to my heart is we encourage you to speak and create that safe space to speak.
Okay.
And I learned that really late. And yes, I know the stat kind of sounds pretty bad, but now being older, I've spoken to a lot of boys who've had 5 and under games, right?
Yeah.
And for them just to get one, it's hard.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
just to get one NRL game is hard, let alone play every game in NRL on the bench. So, like, when I look at that, I feel really grateful because it's hard enough just getting in the NRL and then
for sure.
staying there.
Yeah.
You know, you see these boys here, they're like Guffo and Junior, in the game for such a long time. And, like, that's not easy. That doesn't just come off being on the lounge, you know?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's
So-
that's for sure.
So there's a lot of resilience in this game, and, you know, a bit of leadership as well on, you know, speaking. And yeah, that could probably be my downfall, you know, why I was on the bench. You know, maybe I should have spoke up a bit.
But then is that hard for yourself with, as you mentioned there, with your culture though? Is that hard to speak up? And even though now that you're encouraging it,
Oh yeah, definitely. But like I said, I was taking advice of people that were shy like myself.
Yeah.
I mean, not shy, like had the same values as me. You know, where I could have connected more with the Australian boys, where they spoke up all the time. You know, maybe I should have asked them, what makes you so confident? Are you allowed to speak, you know? And us, we kind of, if you stay around the same people that don't talk, you're going to also not talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like coming through NRL, George Tafua, not a big talker. Steve Maddai, not a big talker, you know? And those were the guys that were around me when I was coming through. And then when we did have a good talker that was Pacifica, I didn't ask questions, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't ask questions, didn't know how to do that. And you learn this. I've learned this now, you know, the tools and the skills. But these are things that kind of, you know, we could probably teach our young people. It doesn't matter who you are, what heritage you come from, like to speak about, you know, how to improve. Because this game, man, it moves so quick. If you don't upskill, you know, you might not play that weekend.
yeah, true. Yeah, no, I had Buddy Oldman on the podcast a few weeks ago. He's a proud Indigenous man, and he's a real mental health advocate as well, like yourself. And one of his slogans is, "It ain't weak to speak."
It ain't, well, yeah, yep.
So, yeah, it's probably along the same lines as what you're saying. And we see now still some of the players that you played with at Manly, Jake Travojevic, DCE, they're still playing at Manly. And you've seen now how they've developed into leaders.
Those two in particular, you could tell that they were going to be a leader somewhere in the club. Especially Jake at 21, he had all our awards, like 21 years or 20, I think it was 20, and he cleaned up all the NRL awards at such a young age, and that was massive, you know. So you kind of can see that. But Jake, before rugby and before he gets on the field, he's actually a genuinely good man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Cares, loving, be there for you. Not because he's a captain or not because, you know, he plays for the Blues, but because he's Jake. And that's what's special. And then you got DCE as well. He speaks a lot for the players in the group, especially when being in that position to speak what the players are saying. It could go against the coaching staff, and he's not afraid to be that person. And he's been speaking with his actions for the last 13 years. And still to be on top of his game for that long, there's something special, you know, that he does in his preparation and stuff. So, yeah, big ups to Cherry for that.
Now, we all know Jake Travojevic is the nicest man in rugby league. Have you seen an angry side of him at all? Like,
yeah.
Has he got upset? Has he got angry? Has he blown up?
Oh, mate, there's this thing called the King of the Ring, right? And I think Brett Kite had the King of the Ring. And they have this in Manly, they got this thing called the Cricket Day. I don't know if they do it now, but honestly, I remember one saying when my first cricket day with the Manly Sea Eagles is Richard Falsall. He goes, "Boys, this is better than Christmas." It's an awesome day. It's run by the players.
Yeah.
They have activities, a few tasks for the new players. Just a good setup, and it's run by the players. And Jake, they always pick one good wrestler, and then Brett Kite, the champ.
Okay.
The day Jake got picked, because he's been smashing everyone in preseason, right? So they're like, "Jake, you're in." So Jake versus Brett Kite, and it was the first time Brett Kite couldn't put him on his back.
Okay, yeah, wow. Yeah.
So, obviously it was a draw, where usually it's never a draw. Anyways, Jake's the king now. He's the new king. I don't know if he's been beaten, so don't get me wrong, I don't know.
I'll have to try and find that out.
Sasai Vave was there, and I don't know if they, who won between them, but yeah. But that's probably the only time I've seen Jake, get a bit...
Classic. Now, whilst you're at Manly, you also represented Samoa as well. That must have been a real special time for you, representing them. Yeah,
definitely a highlight of my career. At that time, you pray so hard for blessings in the game and being able to play NRL. But then just to play NRL and then kind of achieve everything you set out in 1 year and play for Samoa was pretty special, It was like I told you, 5 years straight of double shift, this and that. And then to see its, the seeds back then and then see its fruit grow through 5 years later, I was like, wow, I had to pinch myself.
Yeah, definitely.
Being in the room with certain players, it was, rooming with Rennie Matua.
Yep.
It was just, Rennie Matua was someone I looked up to, growing up, and Sonny Bill, and then playing with Willie Mason there, Filetti Mateo. These are guys that, you watch, and then now you're playing next to them, it's like, wow. But yeah, playing for Samoa, I think what made it extra special is that it was in Penrith, and we versed one of my favourite players, Petro Sevenasiva. He come out of retirement. My goal at Penrith at the time, when I was coming through the train-on squad, I wanted to play a game with Petro.
Okay, yeah.
And I didn't achieve it because I went to Manly and then I debuted. But I didn't get to play with him, but I got to play against him.
Yeah.
And because he come out of retirement and played for Fiji that day.
That's right.
And that was pretty cool. Seeing my family put a banner of my name.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And then all the boys from Mount Druitt calling my name out because I played Trigger Touch with them and that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I lived in Kingswood, but my dad used to take me out to Shelby every afternoon, and we play Samoan cricket and Samoan volleyball. So everyone thought I was from there, but I just come to play, and then we went back to Kingswood, but I went to Kingswood High. But yeah, to see all those boys just like calling my name out, and it meant a lot to the area, of where we're from, and it was like. I was like them, and we can also be on the big stage with these boys as well. No matter where you're from.
And to do it at Penrith, even more special, I guess, because that's where you first came to, and lived here. And just another question: did you ever get to tackle Petro? Because I've heard he's one of the hardest players to ever tackle.
I tackled him a lot in training, but I can't remember tackling him in the game, to be honest. That game went so quick because we won. And to do NRL every day is one thing, special. But to do a Samoan camp, I don't know what it's like in the Australian camp, Kiwi camp, but when you go to a place where everyone has the same culture, same values, belief, and then they teach you what it is to be Samoan, the camp's different. It's just like you'll never leave that place the same.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of got, was like, wow, how awesome is it to be in a place where you can express yourself and everyone doesn't talk. Everyone, but we're all told, hey, talk. It's our people here. You need to be ashamed now. So it was really good in that way to see being in a professional environment around your culture as well.
And we're seeing Samoa go so well these days as well. I mean, they made the World Cup final 3 years ago now in the last World Cup, and the Samoan women's team have qualified for the next World Cup as well.
Good on them.
And they've got elevated into playing in the Pacific Championships at the end of the year as well, in the top tier against Australia and New Zealand. So,
of course.
Got some great players, obviously.
Who's the coach?
Jamie Soward's the coach of the...
For Samoa?
Yeah, the women's side, yeah.
Nice.
So he's pretty excited about that one. And, yeah, I mean, there's some quality players for Samoa, isn't there? I mean, Jerome Luai, Stephen Crichton, Brian Toto, Junior Paulo as well. Blaze Talangi as well is coming through now at Penrith. So there's got some quality players.
Tango on the wing for Para.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
He played in England this year.
That's right, and his brother Isaac as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, they might be a force to be reckoned with next year, next year in the World Cup. Was it difficult to switch over to the Sharks in 2016 from Manly? Did you want to stay at Manly?
Yeah. Manly, it was they were going through a transition. I think Trent Barrett was coming in.
Okay.
I had one more year on my contract. I rang Trent Barrett, and this is kind of where I started to speak a bit more,
Okay, yeah.
But I rang him and I said, hey man, look, my name's Jesse Sene-Lefao. I know you don't know me. I've still got one more year at the club. Man, I'm willing to work hard for you and be the best player I can be. But I just thought I'd call you, and see, if you kind of think, I'm a good player, a good fit for the team still.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, these are not exactly the words, but from the conversation was like, if there's another club, you can go.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that's probably where my, could have been more mature and asked better questions. But to me, I thought, well, why would I be here if he doesn't want me? So we went fishing a bit, and Cronulla was always interested, which was Shane Flanagan.
Yeah, Flano.
And he wanted me to come to the Sharks to bring a bit of aggression and I think a bit of a Western Sydney about him, because they kind of needed a bad boy kind of thing. That's what I remember him saying. But yeah, they already had a bad boy, Andrew Fafita at the time. So
Yeah.
But yeah, he gave me a 2-year deal.
Okay.
So I had 1 year left at Manly, but this guy goes, look, I'll give you 2 years if you come now. Yeah, sweet, done. Made the move over. But, everything happens for a reason. Like, sometimes I wish I stayed and sometimes I didn't. But then if I stayed, would I've had that career I've had in the UK for 9 years,
That's
right. So, it was good to see what happened at Sharks too, because that was the first time in nearly 50 years they won the comp.
That's right. Pretty handy year to join them.
Yeah, and when this is another thing you learn, you got to be on top of your game no matter what in NRL, because if a team's on fire and they're winning every week, it's hard to change that 17. And unfortunately, I only got to play 7 to 8 games that year, but because everyone had played so well that year, when it come to finals, it was pretty much a team picked by itself.
Yeah.
And they won.
Yeah, that's it. I think they went on a 12, 13, 14, 15 game winning streak.
Yep,
but
yep.
One of those games that you did play was that final down in Canberra.
Oh, yeah.
It was a pretty famous game. I think Paul Gallen was ruled out. I think by memory, Wade Graham got concussed pretty early on in the game. And then after the game when the Sharks won, that was the famous Michael Ennis Viking clap to the crowd. So pretty handy game to play in.
Yeah, it was pretty special to see that. We had all odds against us, I remember, going into that game. And, for us coming in, I thought it was a great opportunity, to really show them that they can trust us, But I guess that was built up from the preseason, you might not get used all year, but, games like that, a bit of adversity, we got to make sure we're ready. And that's what happened that year, We trained so hard that year that all the guys that weren't playing as much just were ready. And, I guess that speaks for itself.
And still very special to be part of the grand final winning squad, the first in the club's history as well.
Yeah,
even though you didn't get to play in the grand final.
Well, it's funny you say that. I've lost nearly 4 grand finals in England.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was tough to take still. 16, fit and healthy, ready to go, didn't get picked, and I was a bit down, like, wow, like I Manly played every game, then come here and struggling to get in. So like, you got to find someone to kind of keep you uplifted when you come to training, still performing well, especially on the games, staying injury free, so you can't lack off. And Sharks were pretty professional on that, keeping us fit and keeping us with the recovery. But I was just lucky enough to miss a grand final in 2016, and then fast forward a year later, I'm starting in a Super League grand final for Castleford Tigers.
Yeah.
So like, from one end to the other.
Yeah.
Totally flipped it on its head,
How did the English move come about?
They actually reached out while I was at Manly, Castleford Tigers, but I wasn't ready. Yeah. But I knew I wanted to go. It was always something I wanted to tick off. Like I said, my uncle's always going in and out.
Jump on that big
so I wanted to do it, yeah. So when it came, man, and I thought, I still had a year left at the Sharks. But at that time, I thought, I don't know, it was like the right thing to do. It was a gut feeling, 2-year deal. Off I went to Castleford Tigers, and it's probably the best decision I made.
Yeah, certainly.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.